I'm gonna just throw some logos into two categories, and you gotta try and guess what categories I'm thinking of. Or just, I don't know, any two categories that fits. All right, here we go. And we can shout out some of these names. What does the elephant represent? Yes, Postgres. Everyone knows Wikipedia. What about the penguin? Yeah. What about the dragon? Yep. Okay, what about the red, blue, green box? Yeah, GTK. Who got that? Nice. That one was the hard one. Um, okay, does anyone have any guesses on what the categories are? No, because SQLite, Qt, um, and macOS and MongoDB are open source. Yeah, that's the good answer. So the left is nonprofits and the right is for profits. Um, Side note, I hate this name, OpenAI. It's closed source proprietary. Nothing about this is open. What the hell? Is anyone surprised about SQLite? We'll get to that one. That one's interesting. So let's talk about nonprofits versus VC-backed startups, venture capital. All right, so profit is revenue that you make minus the expenses you have to pay. That's pretty straightforward. And the question is, what do you do with profit? So in a for-profit company, the whole point is that you make profit and the profit goes to the owners. That's the goal. So success is defined by the owners gaining wealth. That's good. Nonprofits are a little different. So maybe you still have excess revenue. Maybe you have revenue that exceeds your expenses. But you have to take that profit and you have to reinvest it into the mission statement. So success is defined by fulfillment of the mission. Nobody gets rich. We only do what we set out to do. Let's talk about venture capital-backed startups specifically. I told you that this was going to be about how to predict the future. Well, it's very easy to predict the future of venture capital-backed startups. Here's a timeline. All right, year 0. They spend VC money to make a seductive, unsustainable product that customers flock to. Year 5. The VCs squeeze their grip. The startup starts going to shit. Employees and customers suffer as they prepare their exit strategy. And this is when it's going well. This is when it doesn't die. Finally, year 7. Roll a dice. 99 times out of 100, they get bought by a large corporation as a talent acquisition. The company effectively dies, leaving customers stranded or awkwardly absorbed by their new parent. Or 1 out of 100, they hockey stick, and 20 years pass, and now they're a large corporation. Anyone recognize these? The Wikipedia logo is from the year 2000. The Google logo is from the year 1997. So these were contemporary early web websites, both really highly regarded. Everyone loved these websites. Wikipedia was a 501c3 nonprofit, and Google was a limited liability company. Fast forward to today. Wikipedia, still a 501c3 nonprofit, still awesome. Everyone still loves Wikipedia. Google, publicly traded since 2004, pretty much widely regarded as an evil large corporation at this point. How many people here used Fitbit? That would include me, actually. 1, 2? Wow, only 2. Okay, well, 2 people. Well, congratulations, Google has our data now, whether we like it or not, and even though it's dead. I'm going to digress about all my complaints about all the negative experiences I've had with startups, but maybe we can all think of some that we've had. Let's talk about privately owned businesses. These are a bit more stable. They're not, trying to do that hockey stick thing, so they're more of a steady trajectory. But probably the owner wants to retire and cash out at some point. They get old, they want their kids to go to college or something like this. Sometimes it stays a family business, but this relies on brittle factors. Maybe one of your children doesn't want to take on the mantle. So as an example, my dad has worked for a roofing company called Progressive Roofing for most of his career. They're a really well-regarded company. They make great roofs. They do good work. They make their customers happy. But the guy who owns the company is getting old. He wants to retire, and none of his kids want to take the business. So they sold it. They sold it to some big roofing corporation, and I'm hearing all these horror stories from what's happening from my dad, and it's the same story, you know. Another interesting case study to look at right now is Rad Game Tools. This is a privately owned company that is very well regarded in the games industry. Pretty much everyone who works at this company is like a minor celebrity on the internet for just being like very good at their job. And they just got bought by Epic Games about a year ago. No more news to report since then, but I'm making a prediction today that we're going to see those mini celebrities who work at Rad Game Tools quit working at Epic and go do something else. And then it's basically dead. It's the death of this great company. Another case study is SQLite. So this one's very interesting. This is also run by a privately owned company. SQLite is an excellent piece of software. Everyone loves it. It has a consortium that companies can use, they can pay to join to get better support. To me, this seems like an excellent business model. I think it's the right way to go. But we have yet to see the owners of the company, of Hipwick and Company Incorporated, reach retirement age. So I wouldn't be surprised if the company gets sold in 10, 15 years. And I'm saying all these things not from a moral perspective. I don't think morality has anything to do with these things. If you want to get rich, that's great. But the point is that we as customers or as stakeholders in these companies can predict what will happen to these companies in the future. And we should absolutely use this information to our benefit to better predict what will happen to us if we depend on these tools. So, I mean, obviously what I'm trying to tell you is that I represent a nonprofit, and as a nonprofit, we have your best interests in mind compared to some of these other nonprofit businesses. This is basically what I was just saying. So let's talk about Zig Software Foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit. We have already achieved financial stability. Our revenue exceeds our expenses. But as our revenue exceeds our expenses too much, we give that money to contributors who are doing work. So we move that money towards our mission statement. But we're already stable. We have already released a useful working product that is solving people's needs. We have a happy, talented, self-directed staff. People love working, all four of us love working for Zig Software Foundation. We have an ambitious roadmap. We have a secure future. We don't have any VCs wanting a return on their investment. We don't have runway that's going to be gone. We can focus on our mission. And I'm not the boss. The board of directors is the boss. So you, the customer or the stakeholder, knows that when I'm gone, Zig Software Foundation will still operate according to the same mission statement. It's not going to get sold to Epic Games so I can send my kids to college or something like this. So we've already succeeded. All right, I'll show you now some other people who are using Zig to their advantage, Zig in the wild. Zig is a general purpose language, which means it gives you the tools to generate the best possible machine code for the target, whether that target is an actual piece of hardware or a virtual machine, such as WebAssembly. So it's applicable to anything resembling a von Neumann machine, which is most computers. But there's some cases where Zig truly excels, thanks to its conservative language design choices. So I'm going to show you just a couple examples from everything in these categories, but don't worry, these slides are fast and colorful. So first we have low-level infrastructure. This is the River Window Manager. This isn't mine. I grabbed this from some subreddit where people show off their desktops to each other. But a window manager is one of those tools where it draws your windows on your desktop. And River is a really nice project that's written in Zig. Next we have Bun. Bun is a fast all-in-one JavaScript runtime. Very cool of Jared to put this little section on their homepage. He writes, "Why is Bun fast? An enormous amount of time spent profiling, benchmarking, and optimizing things." He really put a lot of time into that stuff. "The answer is different for every part of Bun, but one general theme: Zig's low-level control over memory and lack of hidden control flow makes it much simpler to write fast software." And he put a little call to donate. Man, very cool. Thank you, Jared. Next, we have libraries to be used by higher level languages. So as an example, we have Ziggler. This is a Elixir native what does NIF stand for? Native something something. Point is, you're using Elixir, which is high level, and then you want to be able to do some low level stuff. You can use Ziegler for this. So here's just kind of an example of it in action. I'm not going to go into this, but it's some Zig code next to some Elixir code. But the point is that the level of degree of smooth integration that Isaac Yonemoto was able to accomplish here was incredible. So if anyone is interested in Elixir, definitely recommend to check this out. He's got a talk you can search for called Ziegler Elixir FFIs with Zig. He also has a talk from ElixirConf, and it's Isaac Yonemoto is the guy. So if you're into Elixir, check this stuff out. It's very cool. Another example is VFX plugins. I just saw Jim from DNAG do this presentation in Vancouver last week, and this blew me away. So I can't link to his talk yet because it's not up yet, but he showed that when he was trying to render a bunch of sand, he was able to use Zig to write a plugin to save gigabytes of bandwidth on their network by procedurally generating the sand. So that's another example. When this talk comes out, I recommend it because it was excellent. Another example of Zig in action is high performance applications. So this is my personal, what is that, white whale. Before working on Zig, I started working on this digital audio workstation. You can see I didn't get super far on it, but I'll get back to it. So this was my original motivation. I started doing it in C++. I even tried using Rust. I have this honestly kind of unhinged blog post about my journey trying a bunch of different programming languages. I had this commit called Rust is too hard years before I ever wrote Zig. I felt crazy for even considering Rust on here. It's a funny blog post. But anyway, I don't mean to bash Rust. I just thought this was an amusing old blog post since I didn't know I'd be creating Zig at the time. But anyway, digital audio workstation. We have Stephen Gutekunst, who works on the Mach game engine and graphics toolkit. We also have the Zig game dev project by Michael Z. He's got some demos here. This is physically based rendering. He has some audio experiments. He has some physics engine. He has procedural mesh. We also have Tiger Beetle, the world's fastest financial accounting database. This is written in Zig. Congratulations to the Tiger Beetle team for recently getting independence from Coil, and they're now their own company. So they're doing great, and they're happy with Zig. And finally, we have resource-constrained environments. So for example, Jens Goldberg did this project where there was an unmanned store in Sillerud, and was considered to be a success. They ran a store for a few months where it was open at night with no employees, just running on embedded software. If you want to learn about this, you can look for this talk by Jens Goldberg. He reports that there were 0 bugs, which is a seriously impressive accomplishment. Finally, we have the Zig embedded group. This is some people who are working on trying to make embedded programming smooth and pleasant with Zig. They have a project called MicroZig, which is a unified hardware abstraction layer for several microcontrollers. We have BoxOS. Someone's working on an operating system in Zig. Looks kind of like this. Finally, we have WebAssembly 4 games. So this is a fantasy console where you can use their API to create WebAssembly games. And they recently had a game jam, and Zig was very popular in this. And there's lots of reasons why that could be, but it's a nice language for resource-constrained environments, and it goes a long way.